Do you want to know how to end your suffering? If so, stick around. Today, I want to talk to you about your story. You know, your story that you tell over and over and over again, that actually you don't even realize it, but it's keeping you stuck. It's keeping you in your suffering. I'm Connie Jo Holmes. I'm the founder of Be You to Be Full Hypnosis and Coaching, and I teach individuals how to confidently and courageously move from reacting to life to owning your life. And to me, when you can understand when and why you might be staying in your story and how to get out of it, that is a great way to learn how to own your life. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So, as a coach and a hypnotherapist, I see a lot of clients. And there's a delicate dance between having that client empty out. Share with me, why are they here today? What are they needing support with? That type of thing. And part of that is sharing a person's story. Here's where the fine line difference is. So to share that story, to let me know the depth of you as a person, the depth of, the reason why you might be feeling stuck right now, and then the ultimate outcomes that you want, that's very important to share that. But the fine line difference is when people actually live in their story. They embody their story. Their story becomes something that they are so synonymous and connected with that they're talking about it all the time, living in this space, and that continues to create their reality. And that is not a good thing when it actually continues to give you suffering in your life. Now, I just shared this concept at an addiction recovery center recently. And one of the people listening to it said, well, I would never want to change my past. My past is who I am today. I agree with that 100%. And I know I have that same viewpoint. Like, no, if I had things to do over again, I really wouldn't do them over again because I wouldn't be who I am right now, standing here sharing this story with you. But the difference even with that is, but when your story allows you to stay in that suffering moment and you're not able to get out of the suffering, when you're not able to unstick yourself, that type of thing, that's when your story can actually be detrimental for you. So as an example, if you grew up in a household that you had an abusive father and, everything that comes with that, and so still today as an adult, you're talking about that. Because of that story, and you tell it a lot, and you are still living in it in your mind, you are in a crappy relationship yourself. You have anger issues that you take to your job, and so therefore you run through jobs quite a bit. Maybe you have an addiction problem, just anything like that. So that is your story, and you're embodying it, and it's still front and center of your mind, whether that's consciously or subconsciously. But anyways, that becomes your story that you live with, and therefore that story is actually keeping you down. It's allowing you to stay in that suffering. Whereas you can actually not change your story, because we can't change the past, but you can change how you talk about your story. So instead of talking about your story and have it ever present in your mind, instead of saying and remembering and thinking, I grew up in an abusive household. Every Friday, Dad would come home and he would be drunk and he would beat Mom and he would yell at me and he did this my entire life. And, whatever that story is, you can feel that storm coming, right? But anyways, so yes, you can share that, but you can also choose to say, my story is, I grew up in this environment. I suffered with this for many years. However, I am using everything that I went through to now empower myself and do XYZ, whatever that might be for you. And in doing that, you are rewriting your story and you're changing it to be one to allow you from suffering to actually being that survivor, the victim to the victor, that type of thing. And one reason, too, why it's so important to remember this about your story and to pay attention to what that is. And is your story serving you or not serving you? Another reason to do this is because of that theory, if you will, about resistance. You know, a lot of times we are resistant to change. It's our story. It's what we grew up with. We always talk about it. So to think about changing that into anything else and thinking about it and talking about it differently, we might have resistance to that. Well, think about resistance. Resistance is, it's almost like building a muscle. You know, you're resisting against those weights. And in resisting against it, you're actually building a muscle. And so think about the muscle that you want to be building for yourself. Is it the muscle of you staying in the suffering with that story? Or do you want to be over here lifting a new weight that can be you turning your story into one of being a survivor? And so thinking about the resistance in a new way and in a different way for you, a way that can actually serve you. Okay, so like I said, I just recently shared this and I thought this is something that I wanted to share here and to just challenge you. What is the story in your head that you're living with? And if it's a story that in any way is keeping you down, keeping you suffering, maybe you're addicted because of it, maybe you have crappy relationships because of it, just stop and pause and sit with it and think about your story and think about how you're recalling it, thinking about it, talking about it. Is it serving you or is it disserving you? And you do have the power to change that and to change your story into being one of a survivor, taking something crappy and turning it into something that you can actually stand on and empower yourself. And then maybe in empowering yourself, you can actually empower others. All right, I hope that was helpful. So if you got value out of this, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And please leave any comments if this resonated with you in any way. If you do have a story that you have changed yourself and how you came out to be that victor in this situation, please share that with others. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And if you are interested in working with me and my coaching and hypnotherapy, because I really master in this with helping people to change their story, and at that subconscious level with hypnosis. So if this is a service that you need, please look in the description box on how to schedule a free 30-minute consultation call with me.